Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video without any interruptions, and then I'll go back and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on, and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go.
Hello, I'm Captain Stacy Spell, Commanding Officer of Media Relations Division of the Los Angeles Police Department. This critical incident community briefing is intended to provide you with information about an officer-involved shooting that occurred in Hollenbeck Division in the city of Los Angeles on January 28, 2022 at around 1:20 p.m. You're about to see relevant video footage and learn about other evidence and police procedures related to the case, so you can have a better understanding of what occurred based on what we know right now. The LAPD conducts very thorough use-of-force investigations, which typically require investigators to interview multiple witnesses, view numerous hours of video footage, and analyze a significant amount of forensic evidence. We are still at the very early stages of this investigation, which can often take up to a year to complete, and our understanding of the incident may change as this additional evidence is collected, analyzed, and reviewed. We also do not draw any conclusions about whether the officers acted consistent with our policies and the law until all the facts are known and the investigation is complete. A word of caution. The images and information you're about to see may be disturbing. When a police officer uses force to arrest a suspect or defend against an attack, it can be graphic and difficult to watch. In addition, there may be strong language used by those shown in the video. Viewer discretion is advised, especially for young children and sensitive viewers. Hollenbeck Narcotics Enforcement Detail officers were in the area of Evergreen Avenue and Wabash Avenue when they observed a male armed with a firearm. The officers broadcast for Hollenbeck patrol units to respond to the area. Here's the radio broadcast from this incident.
423, is there a black and white in the area of Evergreen and Wabash, 404-59 with the gun?
423 is requesting a black and white Evergreen and Wabash for 415 man with the gun.
Air 18, do they have eyes on that suspect?
423, do you have eyes on the suspect for Air 18?
Yeah, that's a Roger. Have the airship fly over a male Hispanic, shaved head, tatted down on his head, with wearing a black jacket, gray pants, and a black backpack, walking north towards Wabash.
Suspect is a male Hispanic, shaved head, with tattoos on his head, wearing a black jacket, gray pants, carrying a black backpack.
497 from the station.
423, 497 responding from the station.
Be advised, suspect is at the southwest corner of Evergreen and Wabash. Correction, he's crossing northbound. Red light towards the north side of Evergreen. Wabash, on Evergreen. He actually went into a 98-cent store, airship, so kind of stand by. He's inside a 98-cent store.
Okay, copy. We'll watch the back.
The suspect has gone inside the 98-cent store at Evergreen and Wabash on the southwest corner.
Air 18's overhead.
Air 18 is over Evergreen and Wabash.
Off to your right, guys. Immediately off to your right. Air 18, I got units code 6 on the suspect who's running northbound back towards Wabash. Northbound back towards Wabash. Reaching for his waistband. Use caution. Okay, suspect's down. Get an RA rolling. Looks like an OIS. Get an RA rolling. Officer needs help. Shots fired. Officers verify you guys are okay. Nobody responds southbound from Wabash.
Hi. All units, officer needs help. Evergreen and Wabash. Officer needs help. Evergreen and Wabash. Shots fired.
When the patrol officers arrived, the suspect ran from them and pulled a handgun from his waistband, at which time an officer-involved shooting occurred. That suspect was later identified as Adrian Aldaco. Aldaco was struck by gunfire and transported by rescue ambulance to a local hospital in stable condition. Aldaco was treated for gunshot wounds and was booked into the Metropolitan Detention Center 2 days later. This incident was captured on body-worn video. Body-worn video cameras are used by most officers assigned to field duties. They are worn at chest level and capture a general perspective within line of sight from that angle. The angle of the camera prohibits viewers from seeing everything the officers saw and experienced. Upon activation, both audio and video will turn on. However, body-worn video cameras have a buffer of video without audio from the previous 2 minutes prior to activation. This feature is designed to capture incidents that occur suddenly, where an officer doesn't immediately activate the camera.
Carrying a black backpack and is talking to a female wearing blue shorts.
Off to your right, guys. Immediately off to your right. Everything I got.
Get back!
Northbound, back towards Wabash. Northbound, back towards Wabash. Reaching for his waistband. Use caution. Take suspect down. Get an RA rolling for the second OIS. Get an RA rolling. Officer needs help. Shots fired up. Officers verify you guys are okay.
I'm gonna get the girl.
Nobody responds outbound to Wabash. Nobody responds outbound to Wabash.
Come in, hands! Where are them? Get on the ground! Turn around! You reach for the gun, bro! Don't reach for the gun, you understand me? Get on your stomach! I'm gonna make contact. Bro, get on your stomach! Get on your stomach and we'll get you some help. You gonna get on your stomach? I'm gonna cross.
Hey, roll down on your stomach.
He doesn't respond. Northbound Evergreen.
I'm gonna get you on your stomach. Show me your right hand. Right hand. Yeah. Yeah, I got it. I'm on it. Come in, hands! Where are them? Get on the ground! Turn around! You reach for the gun, bro! Don't reach for the gun, you understand me? Get on your stomach! I'm gonna make contact. Bro, get on your stomach. Get on your stomach and we'll get you some help. You gonna get on your stomach? I'm gonna cross.
Hey, roll down on your stomach.
He doesn't respond. Northbound Evergreen.
I'm gonna get you on your stomach. Show me your right hand. Right hand. Yeah. Yeah, I got it. I'm on it.
Investigators recovered Aldaco's loaded handgun at the scene and booked it as evidence. Investigators discovered that the handgun was a ghost gun. Ghost guns are firearms manufactured without serial numbers and require no background checks for purchase, making them untraceable to law enforcement authorities. Ghost guns are generally homemade from polymer plastic or metal that needs minor modifications to make them operable. On February 1, 2022, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office filed the following counts against Aldaco: 1 count of assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer, and 1 count of felon in possession of a firearm. Adrian Aldaco is a 28-year-old resident of Los Angeles. In the next several months, the LAPD will continue to investigate and analyze this incident. We will continue interviewing any new witnesses that may come forward and complete any forensic tests. After the investigation is complete, our Critical Incident Review Division will forward their findings to the Chief of Police, who will make his recommendation to the Civilian Board of Police Commissioners. The board will evaluate the evidence to determine whether the officer's tactics, drawing, and exhibiting a weapon and use of deadly force in this instance met the high standards expected of all LAPD officers. If you would like more information, visit lapdonline.org, where you can find the LAPD's use of force policy and procedures.
All right. Let's get into it. So this starts off with some narcotics officers observing this dude. They decide not to do anything at first by themselves. They opt to have a patrolled or a marked patrol vehicle come to the scene to be able to do this action. And that's a pretty common tactic. That way, it is very clear to everyone involved that it's the police. When you see a marked police car pull up to the scene and uniformed police officers get out. Now, of course, the narcotic guys will have badges and stuff, but they're obviously not going to be in a black and white vehicle with red, blue lights all over it and be in the classic uniform with the shiny badge and nameplate and the little whistle hanging on it and the ink pens and the full glossy belt or leather belt, whatever. They'll have a badge, and it looked like one of them had a vest on. We'll go take a look at that real quick. So this is, I'm assuming, one of those narcotic officers. He's got his vest on. Like, you could tell, that he's most likely an officer. But it's not as very clear and concise as these. Like, you look at these, you know for sure that these are either police officers or security guards. One of the two. This guy, high chance of him being security or police, but obviously, you're going to know for sure these. So that's a common practice to have the uniformed people show up. That way there is no confusion whatsoever about who's being dealt with here. And they don't have body cameras, so that's why we don't get to see the actual shooting itself. If you're going to have a vest to be able to put on, then in my opinion, that vest needs to have a camera on it. Like, I could see the reasoning behind, being plain clothes and everything, not having a camera, because it's difficult to hide a body camera on you when you're plain clothes and you're trying to blend in with people. But it looks like he has a vest on, and like I said, in my opinion, if you're going to have a vest, then you should have a camera on that vest to be able to use in situations like this, where you're going to have to be getting out and dealing with someone in a uniform capacity, and it's just going to help back you up. And that's what body cameras do. They back you up. They exonerate you. When they first came out, I was a little hesitant about them. But after using them, I think they're great. And in fact, I wish that I would have had a body camera way long time ago. Not just to capture all the events and be able to look back at them, but really to be exonerated. Because these dirtbag criminals will lie. They'll make up stuff against you. And it's really nice when you've got that camera on and then someone makes up something about you, and then you have that footage to prove them wrong and put them in their place. It's really nice. And there's been times in the past where people made stuff up and there was no way to disprove it. It was, my word against their word. And those are the times where I wish cameras would have come out a lot earlier. But anyway, like I said, if you're going to have a vest to put on, then that vest needs to have a camera on it. So the uniformed people are approaching, and I wish they would also include the helicopter footage from this. I think that would also be kind of helpful to get a better view of what's going on. They're approaching, and you can see his partner in the reflection of the screen right here. It looks like he's talking into his portable. I don't know what it is about LAPD and NYPD and their over reliance on using portable radios. It almost seems like none of their cars have mobile radios in them. I know the LAPD cars have them because I can see them have their microphones stretched all the way across and hanging on the spotlight handle. So I know their cars mostly have them. I don't think the MIPD cars have mobiles in them at this point after watching so many videos. But I just don't understand why they have this over-reliance on using their portable. So if this dude has to bail out of this car very quickly, he's going to have to get this portable radio situated back on his belt. If he has a swivel mount, that might be a little bit easier to do, but it's going to take effort to get that radio back down into it. If he has just a regular pouch with a little retention thing over it, he's going to have to obviously put it down as a pouch and then try and stretch the retention strap over top of it and secure it in place. It's too much extra effort, in my opinion. It's just unnecessary. It would be easier just to use the car's mobile radio or have a lapel mic attached to your portable radio. That way you don't have to worry about taking this thing on and off and talking into it. You just reach up, click the button, talk, let go. So these guys are getting on scene, and the dude obviously takes off, and then the narcotic guys follow in behind them, and that's when the shooting happens. So we never ever get to see it occur. And we see initially the driver has two hands up and on the wheel, or at least two hands are at some point in play here. There's nothing in them. When he goes to get out of the car, let me drop this volume down some. When we see his hand, he reached over there and he opened the handle, and it hit this again. So he reaches over. He don't have anything in that hand. Actually, I take that back. No, he does. So he looks like he reaches down for whatever reason. And he does have a flashlight in his hand right there as he's opening the door. Why he's grabbing his flashlight, I don't know.
Show me hands! Where are them?
It's full daytime.
Where are them? Get under there!
But this flashlight, like, I don't understand what it is about him grabbing that. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand why the flashlight's coming out during the daytime. This is now interfering with his ability to get a good two-handed grip on the pistol. When it comes to pistols and being more accurate, it is better to have a two-handed grip on that gun versus a sloppy one-handed grip, or I'm sorry, have a one-handed grip plus a sloppy support grip on there. He might as well just be aiming the gun one-handed, because this is not going to be helping him any.
Get on the ground! Turn around! Turn around! Turn around!
He puts the light away. He must put it in a pocket or a pouch. I wish I knew the reasoning behind why he got out with a flashlight in his hand.
Turn around! You reach for the gun, bro! Don't reach for the gun, you understand me? Get on your stomach! Get on your stomach! I'm gonna make contact. Bro, get on your stomach! Get on your stomach and we'll get you some help. You gonna get on your stomach? I'm gonna cross.
Hey, roll down on your...
Someone must be behind him, obviously, the narcotics guy. So he's communicating that he's going to be crossing. He's going to be going over or crossing through that officer's line of fire. So that's good communication, letting people know you're about to move. That way you don't end up causing someone to inadvertently muzzle you.
Stomach.
I'm gonna get you on your stomach. I'm gonna get you on your stomach.
At this point, I don't know why he's being all super soft with him. That's no, like, grab him, yank him over. Don't even. At this point, you don't even really have to tell him what you're wanting to do. You just yank him over and you put his arms behind his back and cuff him up. He knows he's going to be cuffed at this point. That's an obvious. That's a given. He just pulled a gun on the police, and the police shot him. They're like, don't baby them. There's no reason to baby and coddle someone who's pulled a gun on the police. No point in it whatsoever. And in fact, by going this slow and coddling him the way he is, this hand is now up under his waistband. He could have had another weapon and very easily start to get this gun into play. In instances like this, the best thing to do is snatch them. Overwhelm them with the surprise of your movement and the shock of your movement. Grab that hand, yank them back. Like actually cause them to slide across the ground some as you are yanking on this arm to take them off balance. And then cuff them. No point in being, daddy daycare right here. Like, there's no sense in being soft with this guy.
Show me your right hand. Right hand. Yeah.
Watch out with the gun.
Well, it must have, I guess, because the photo of the guy wasn't on there very long.
I'm on it.
Investigators took a handgun at the scene and booked it as evidence. Investigators discovered that the handgun was a ghost gun. Ghost guns are firearms manufactured without authorities. Ghost guns are illegal. On February 1st, 2000, one count of assault. Adrian Aldaco is a 20.
Yeah, so this is the look of someone who has repeatedly been involved in the criminal justice system for a long time. I don't even understand what scan less means. I totally don't get that reference. The boys on his chin, and then we can't make out very well what the other tats are on him. But face tats like this are a clear indication that you're dealing with a criminal. Now, are there people who get face tats who are not criminals? Yes. So really, I guess, what needs to be said is this is a clear indication that the person you're dealing with is not a smart person. There's a reason why you don't see Fortune 500 company owners having face tats. It's just not the sign of a smart, logical person. Now, are there people who get face tats who are okay people? Yeah, sure. But they're not necessarily always the brightest of the box. Typically, in my experience, dealing with people who have multiple face tats and tats all over their head like this generally end up being criminals. They do this as a way to make themselves seem stronger, to make people more scared of them. Some of the stuff on his head, I'm sure, probably has some type of connection to a gang that he's a part of. But overall, the head and face tats and the neck tats and the arm tats, that's all stuff to mostly act as kind of a posturing kind of thing to make other people scared of them. It's really a sign of the people having some self-esteem issues and thinking less of themselves. California is all about ghost guns. And this seems to be, honestly, when I look at these videos, it's mostly California that I see the mentioning of ghost guns, and you see these evidence photos of. Now, I'm not saying that California is the only place that has ghost guns. I'm sure it goes on in other places, but you do see a lot of ghost guns from these California police videos. Ghost guns. See here. How do I put this? Where do I start at? So in the video, it talks about ghost guns are untraceable. Yeah, because they don't have serial numbers on them. Does that in any way make the public safer? No, it really doesn't. A serial number just allows the police to be able to track something. So if this gun, let's say a person, a lawful person wanted to build their own gun, and if this thing got stolen, well, there's really no way to differentiate this product from another product that could have been built and look exactly the same. That's why TVs have serial numbers on them. If you get a 55-inch Roku TV and it doesn't have a serial number on it, then it looks just the same as another 55-inch Roku TV. So obviously the manufacturers utilize serial numbers to keep track of their products from a quality control standpoint. Like, oh, this serial number goes back to this batch, and this batch was made this day or whatever, and they all passed quality control. Whatever. Outside of that, when it goes into normal people's hands, serial numbers for a lot of people are just useless. They don't have to use it for anything. The only time it comes into play and being useful when law enforcement gets involved is when you report it stolen. And then, say, for example, a TV that has a serial number on it. Someone breaks in your house, steals your TV, and takes it to the pawn shop. Well, pawn shops in most places, most states have laws that require pawn shops to retain their records and make them inspectable by the police. So if you bring in a TV to your pawn shop, they'll write you up a ticket, and they'll document the make, model, serial number of this thing that you're bringing into them, and your name and your address and all that, and they'll have to keep it for a certain amount of time. Some places they have it set up to where the pawn shop can automatically submit this information to the police, and then the police will go through the serial numbers, plug them in the computer, and see if they've been reported stolen, and then get rid of the paperwork. Sometimes this is done electronically, sometimes it's done by hand. So an officer will have to go to a pawn shop, whatever time during the day, get these stack of papers, bring them back to the station, and start going through the serial numbers and seeing if anything pops up stolen. So it's not a bad thing that these things don't have serial numbers on them. It just makes it, more difficult to trace them from that aspect. And it's not like, when I say trace, it's just after the fact kind of thing. It's not like a serial number is going to make the gun traceable through satellites or anything like that. It's kind of pointless, other than quality control from the manufacturer standpoint, or once it's stolen, you're able to say, hey, this unique thing on it proves it's mine. Because someone could conceivably steal this from someone else and say, well, no, I didn't steal it from them. I built it myself. No way to prove it unless there's a serial number on it. And when it comes to serial numbers, there is no national database that has gun serial numbers in it. And there should not be. There should never be a database that does that. When federal firearm license dealers sell guns, they have to keep the paper forms on site for X amount of time. I don't remember what that time frame is, but whenever they fill out the paperwork, you go buy a gun, they fill out the paperwork, they do your background check, and they sell you the gun. Well, that paperwork that has your name and then the gun serial number on it goes in their filing cabinet. And they retain that for so much time, and it's available for the ATF to come and inspect whenever they would want to. Then after a certain amount of time, they can throw that paperwork away. They can shred it, burn it, whatever. There's nothing electronically that happens with any of that information. No copies of that get forwarded to anywhere. So realistically, you could have bought a handgun 10 years ago, and there's no way that anybody could ever search a serial number and see that it comes back to you. And that's a good thing. Something like that should never exist. When your stuff gets stolen, the serial number is what helps prosecute people, because when police find this gun in possession with someone and they note the serial number and see that it's stolen, they can then say, hey, you stole Bob's gun, and then charge them for it. So like I said, I don't have a problem with the fact that these things don't have serial numbers on them. But that seems to be the big talking point for anybody in Los Angeles or California, and anybody who's anti-gun. They don't have serial numbers. They don't have serial numbers. They don't have serial numbers. Like, who cares? Shut up. The frame, this part right here, the handle and the trigger, for those that don't know, that is the firearm piece. That's when you go to a gun shop and you buy a gun, this is what's considered as the gun. The top piece, the slide, and the barrel, that's not considered a gun. You can buy these slides all day long just by themselves and never have to do a background check on them. Same with the barrels. Never have to do a background check on them because they're not considered a firearm. Only the registered part of the handgun is the handgun, and that's the frame. That's the lower piece with the trigger assembly and everything in it. These ghost guns are these lower things right here, but they do not have any of the internal things inside of them. They don't have the trigger in them. They don't have the magazine release. They don't have any parts in them whatsoever. And they don't have all the holes cut into them. So they're known as 80% lowers. They're an incomplete firearm. Therefore, they're not a registered firearm. So you can buy these things without having to do a background check from a dealer. You're essentially buying a piece of plastic that somewhat resembles a piece of a gun. These 80% lower kits come with drill bits and a jig to be able to put the frame into, so that you can drill your own holes out to be able to put these little takedown pins in. You drill the holes yourself using the jig as a guide. That way it stays in place and it's not moving around. You drill all those holes and then you put the internals into the gun yourself. And then you can buy an extra separate slide and attach it to the top, and voila, you've got a working gun. Is it simple? Yeah, it's simple to do. But it also requires, some skill, some knowledge. Can everyone do this? No, there's some people who would screw this up and never make it work. They just wouldn't. They couldn't do it. So a lot of people have to end up looking at instructions on how to assemble some of this stuff. But I mean, once you figure the stuff out, yeah, you can build it pretty easily. This is where I wish more information would be provided. Like, did this dude himself, this gangbanger guy with the face tats, did he go online and buy an 80% lower kit and then build this himself? Or did someone else build it and then he bought it from them? That's the kind of information I would like to know, because there's a lot of street criminals who are too stupid to be able to do this on their own. Like, they literally do good just to be able to chew bubble gum and walk at the same time. That dude, the way he looks, he doesn't look like the brightest crayon in the box, so I don't know if he could be able to pull off building his own gun. But that's something I would like to know, and I wish that they would kind of go a little bit deeper into that and get this information, because I think it's good to know. Like, are they themselves doing this, or are they buying it from someone else who's doing it? And if someone else is doing this stuff, they're basically acting as a manufacturer, building these things and selling them to people who are not supposed to have them. Well, that's good information to have, because then you can go after that person on a more federal level and start shutting down these illegal gun manufacturers, so to speak. A lot of people get into building their own stuff. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I would just much rather buy a tried and true, proven product from a reputable manufacturer like Glock. I would much rather just go buy a Glock and know that it was built with good quality control and it's going to work. H&K, SIG, same thing. I'm not the biggest fan of buying these off-market replica things and putting them together and hoping that it works. That's not a good, viable option for me. That's not something that I am 100% wanting to trust my life to. So obviously he is a felon in possession of a firearm. Like I said, no surprise there that he's a felon. These charges right here: felon in possession of firearm and assault deadly weapon on a peace officer. So this happened in February of 2022. At time of recording for this video, it is March 16th. I would not be surprised if this dude's already out of jail. Like, I really wouldn't. And if he's not out of jail right now, I would not be surprised to find out if in the next month or so he is out of jail. This seems to be the recurring problem right now here in the U.S. Criminals with violent charges being released too early. And I would not be surprised to find out if this guy's last arrest, whatever he got arrested for, I would not be surprised to find out that if he had been given the maximum sentence, then that would have meant that he would be locked up somewhere and he never would have been out on the street able to do this at that time. Because that ends up happening a lot in a lot of cases. You'll have these criminals who have been released from the system way too early. They were sentenced to 10 years and they were given probation and parole, or they were originally charged with something and then as a plea deal they had the charges amended down to something lesser, so long as they pled guilty, and it had a least amount of time that they could serve. And then even with that least amount of time to serve, you know, let's say they were looking at something that was going to be 15 years, but they pled guilty to something that would be 5 years. Well, they're still not doing the full 5 years. They're going to realistically do a year at most, or 2, and then get out. So his last arrest, I would not be surprised to find out that if he could have got the max, that he would have still been in and this never would have happened. And that happens in a lot of cases. If they would just keep them locked up, they would not be doing this stuff. Not much else to talk about this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.